What's up? Good afternoon. Welcome to Cohn and Kruger. That's Larry Kruger. I'm Grant Cohn. He's muted, but he's going to unmute himself any second. The Niners made a big move yesterday, and I didn't really like it. I want to hear what Larry has to say about it, but I did like that they did something. It was great for my YouTube channel and the various things that I create. And I was hoping that they would do more today. So since they did nothing, Larry and I are going to tell them what to do next. But before we look ahead, I want to look back. Larry, you had a very interesting discussion on KNBR with Greg Silver. You were expressing your misgivings about or your hesitations about the Mike Evans signing. And then Mike Silver, Greg's dad, quote tweeted the clip and said that with all due respect, he thinks that 2026 Mike Evans is better than 2023 Brandon Ayuk, which made me raise like 3 eyebrows. My question to you is Mike Evans still elite the way Mike Silver says he is?
I didn't see a lot of Mike Evans highlights where he got a lot of separation. But somebody told me he's was really high up there in the separation stats. So maybe the stats do reveal that. And I didn't go through a lengthy thing. I just watched a little highlight reel, but the highlights I saw, the defenders were all right there. But I mean, I've watched this guy for a long time because I'm a Texas A&M fan, and I've watched all of his college film, and I loved him in college. And it's an exciting day because the Niners basically got Ayuk, for whatever reason, either got bad advice or decided he didn't want like money, and he decided to do whatever he needed to do to void the contract. The Niners smartly voided the contract and recouped all the cash. Well, they doled out some of that cash, but not all of it, just some of it. And I think got a much better player who's a more dependable locker room guy and will lead their young receivers. And they need to go into this draft and find more young receivers. So I think it's a win on multiple levels. It's a win on the contract. It's a win in the locker room. It's a win in all phases, except Ayuk used to get greater separation than I think Evans is going to get.
I mean, I don't like this signing. I understand that they didn't overpay for him, and that's like the Parag Marate special, but there's a reason that he was so cheap because, I mean, last year he was really not good. He caught less than 50% of his targets. And I think what's so troubling, you could be like, okay, last year was a one-off. He had some injuries, but every other year he was great, and he's only 32. And why are we assuming that he's going to fall off a cliff? What concerns me is his snap counts of the last 4 years. In 2022, he played 927 snaps, 2023, 863, 2024, 671, and then 2025, 357. So is his body beginning to break down? And if it is, are the 49ers the right team to sort of rehabilitate him and keep him durable? These are the 49ers. He's got hamstring issues. So, I mean, he's older than George Kittle. And we saw George Kittle last year, week 1, hamstring torn. Week 3 with the Rams, Devontae Adams pulled his hamstring. He ended up scoring a lot of touchdowns, but he was limping around the field the whole year. He was kind of like a red zone specialist. Again, they didn't break the bank for Mike Evans, but I wonder how effective he'll really be. And if, let's say that this trend continues and he gets hurt again and he misses a lot of time, then the Niners are way worse off at wide receiver than they were last year.
Well, I think there's a couple things. There's things to like and there's things to be worried about. I think the things to like is he's going to be in the right spot at the right time. So for an anticipation thrower like Brock, you need that. You got to have your guys in the right spot. So he'll be in the right spot. He makes plays on the football. But I think you bring up good points. I mean, it's not you're paying him like to me. It's about where is he in this core. If he's your number one wide receiver. Wow, that's at this age, that's gonna be tough. I mean, to me, they're expecting Ricky to step up, or they're gonna bring somebody else in. I still think they need a significant wide receiver. I wouldn't feel really comfortable with Mike Evans at 33 being the number one receiver.
Isn't that what he
for more volume?
Isn't that what he wanted? He wanted some.
He wants it. Yeah, he wants the ball.
Get some conditions. One of them was a lot of touches, a lot of targets. He wasn't necessarily the number one option in Tampa anymore. They have Emeka Egbuka. They have some other guys. I feel like here he says he sees Jennings is leaving. Kittle's going to be out for maybe half the year. He could get all the targets he wants. I think he wants to. I think his numbers are the most important thing for him. He has a ring.
The question is, can his body stand up and can he stay healthy when he gets 100 targets, when he catches maybe 80 balls in this offense? So, I mean, they need their young.
Excuse me if I'm pessimistic. It's the 49ers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing is it's the 49ers, but there's no Debo, no Ayuk, no JJ, no Kittle. You have CMC coming off a 450 touch season. You don't have, well, suddenly you look around and you're like, well, if Mike Evans doesn't catch the ball, who is going to catch it? Jacob Cowing, Watkins, Pearsall, get Demarcus Robinson, Jake Tonjes. I mean, they don't right now. He would be. I think he's going to get more footballs than he even wants.
We got breaking news.
Really?
Larry, you don't know this, but the Green Bay Packers just signed Sky Moore to a 1-year deal. According to Jordan Schultz, the Packers are signing Sky Moore to a 1-year deal. This is somewhat disappointing to me because I felt like Sky Moore sort of established himself as one of the top returners in the league. I doubt he's that expensive. And I felt like there were ways the Niners could have used him on offense and didn't. And now he's gone. And he was a big part of a dominant special teams unit next year. What do you think of Sky Moore going to Green Bay?
I know he wanted to come back. He said he wanted to come back. I asked him about it at his locker at the end of the year. He had his best year this year. He's just now coming into his own. He's just now figuring it out. And that guy goes a million miles an hour. I thought he was a revelation. All the other special teams guys that have been around a long time, like Thomas Morstead was like, nobody runs upfield as hard that I've ever seen as like Sky Moore this year. I mean, he showed such courage and it's unbelievable. I mean, he just went a million miles an hour. It didn't matter if there was a brick wall there or if there was a seam there or not. He just took it up there. So it's a major loss. And it was a good trade to get him, but maybe they feel like they can find another return guy, between now and camp. But I was hoping he would come back. I was kind of hoping that they would bring the entire special teams group back.
Me too. I really felt that Sky Moore was their best returner since Ted Ginn, and maybe was a little bit better. Maybe not, but Ted Ginn was faster than Sky Moore. But Sky Moore runs with so much more courage. He will run through people. He will break tackles. I love that about Sky Moore. And he's only 25. And you just signed a soon to be 33-year-old wide receiver. It irks me that the Niners are so cavalier about being the oldest team in the league and don't see someone like Sky Moore, who clearly was ascending, and see, like, I mean, what it probably cost Green Bay $4 million. I'd love to know what they signed him for, but this just feels like, I don't know. It's hard to call them cheap because they will spend money, but kind of cheap. How do you not bring back Sky Moore? Good luck finding someone as good as him.
It could be cheap, but it also could just be that they have earmarked a guy. Like, for example,
Junior Bergen.
And not Junior Bergen, but there's Georgia's got a guy named Zachariah Branch in this draft who's super electric, and he just had an amazing combine. And a lot of people feel like he'd be a great fit for the Niners. They need an explosive type player. There's also a bunch of others, but he's one guy. Jacob Cowing, 4.3 speed.
Ricky Pearsall
as well. Ricky Pearsall going to be healthy. He's just healthy.
Sky, good luck. I really enjoyed getting to know Sky and watching him play. He's a good player. And I think Green Bay just got a good guy. Made a good move. All right, back to Mike Evans. Assuming, we don't really know what he's gonna give him, but why do the Niners want him? What is their vision? What do they see him adding to the offense?
I think they know. Shanahan knows receivers, and he knows that the receiving core has to complement one another. So I think, I'm on record as saying that I think Debo's coming back. So I think Debo's going to run the gadget short stuff, right? Then I think you got Evans to run JJ's routes. He's going to run the cut routes, the sideline in and outs, a little bit of a combination of what JJ did and Ayuk did. They think they can get that, I think, out of Evans. And then they've got the 3 wild cards, Pearsall, Cowing, and Watkins, all who can run. And then I think they're probably going to add one more receiver, and they get Demarcus Robinson. I think they'll add one more receiver in the draft. Probably a receiver that's pretty dynamic, who might have, speed, big playability, like a Zachariah Branch. Maybe a bigger receiver than that, but there's some really good ones in this draft that are fast, and I could see them adding one receiver like that in the draft, and Evans is their chain mover, and they'll go as the improvement of Cowing, Watkins, and Pearsall go.
It seems like I keep coming back to. Well, I was listening to Ted Wynn from The Athletic on 95.7, and he was saying how, like, the Niners faced 8-man boxes so much last year, and Mike Evans teams still respect him, and he'll back off defenses. He'll force defenses to put a safety over the top, and he'll give Christian McCaffrey more running room. And that might be true against a lot of teams. But I keep coming back to, how does this help the Niners against Seattle? And I think what was so discouraging about that matchup was that Seattle could shut down the Niners running game, and have for the last few matchups, without loading the box. They can do it with 7 in the box, a light box. They do it from their nickel defense, their dime defense. I mean, they shut down the Niners run game without trying. And in that sense, Mike Evans doesn't really help, because they already have their safeties back, Seattle. So my question is, does this really do anything for that matchup? He's not giving you yak. Is he going to beat him over the top? He's great in the red zone.
I mean,
if you get to the 2-yard line, he'll help you get across.
I think he's better right now in the intermediate range, and he's really good when you throw it kind of up to him. But I don't see him. He used to be more of a deep threat. I don't know if he's still that deep threat. To me, he's more of an intermediate threat. But I think that's why I think it's important that they get a dynamic receiver in the draft process, because I think you do have some guys who can get deep, but can they even get on the field? And then you've got guys that can get on the field, like Demarcus Robinson and maybe Pearsall and obviously Evans. But among those guys, do you have a deep threat? I think you need a deep threat. There's a number of guys in the draft that they could go with, but they definitely need to pick off one. I mean, I know it's not a primary need, but it's a need.
Let's talk about Evans replacing Jennings and running those routes. As far as like the intermediate out routes, yeah, Evans can run those really well. My question is the digs, because those are, you're running into traffic and you're liable to get hit from behind by multiple people, high, low. I mean, it ended Brandon Ayuk's career with the 49ers. Those are risky routes. And one of the things that we love about Jauan Jennings, that Brock Purdy loves about Jauan Jennings, is he will run those routes with no fear. He'll catch the ball in traffic, bring it down, take the hit, maybe get a yard or two after contact as well. Is that Mike Evans at 33? Does he want to spend the twilight of his career taking those hits? I don't know.
No, I think he's much more like a Devontae Adams.
Yep.
Where he's going to run the back shoulder now.
Yes.
I mean, the high back shoulder, throw, I think is going to be a major part of the repertoire, because he's really good at that. And then, I also
the perimeter player.
I also think that he's really good out of the break. He just doesn't have the longer speed. So I think you're going to see Brock get him the ball quicker out of the break. Like he'll run the route, he'll break, he'll turn, the ball will be there, as opposed to he'll run another part of the route and then the ball will be there. Because you see corners eating some cushion on Evans on the secondary move after the top of the stem. So I mean, he's to me, he's really going to help you in the red zone. He's really going to help you on third down. He's really going to help the young receivers learn how to watch film, read coverage, the whole thinking man's game. I mean, he's a genius at this point. And then there's certain routes that he really likes, and I'm sure he's going to voice that to Shanahan. Certain routes that he runs really well at this point, and I'm sure they're going to feature that. I mean, we'll see
back shoulder fades
and some stop routes against
curls,
certain coverages. Quick hitters where he gets the ball, maybe even some hitches at this point.
Yeah.
So
But
I think Evans is not going to be as much of a downfield threat as more of a short and intermediate threat. So I still think there's a need for that downfield receiver.
he definitely replaces like the contested catch ability that Jawan Jennings gives you. And Jawan wasn't a big yak guy. I think Mike Evans is less of a yak guy at this stage of his career. I think if you watch his highlights from 2025, it's a lot of him catching the ball and going straight down. He averaged 1.2 yards after the catch per catch last year, which is not much. And then there's my last question with him. I think at this stage in his career, if ideally he'd be like a number 2 or number 3 receiver, the way that Devontae Adams is on the Rams. I mean, he's not carrying that offense. Puka Nacua is carrying that offense, and then Devontae Adams is the second guy, and he's tough to deal with when he's healthy. On the Niners, I think he might be the number 1 guy, especially if Kittle's out. And we've seen how Kyle Shanahan can get like sort of laser focused, locked in on getting the ball to 1 or 2 people. If he overuses Mike Evans, I worry for his hamstrings early on in the year. They got to use him judiciously, prudently, and if it's too much, it could all fall apart.
Puts a lot of pressure on Purdy too, because everybody knows they're going to be going to this high volume receiver who also doesn't gain tons of separation. It doesn't appear, or at least it makes sense that he wouldn't, because he is an older player. So we'll see. I mean, the one thing is he's going to be. I was talking to Todd Usack about this. I said, how long will it take before they're really on the same page? And he's like, with a receiver like that good, it's a couple conversations and half a practice, and you can feel like you're on the same page. So, I'm eager to see what Purdy looks like to Evans, because the one thing that we need to see is like last summer when Denver came in and Purdy was having a hard time completing passes to anybody, but he could still get it to Kittle in those tight, small windows. If we see that this summer where, they're practicing against Team X, but Purdy to Evans is still happening regularly and they're working, that's going to be a great sign.
It'll be interesting to see his chemistry with Brock Purdy,
Yeah.
because theoretically, like I feel like prime Mike Evans might be the perfect wide receiver to pair with Brock Purdy, considering Brock Purdy does want to throw the ball down the field, and he gets in trouble sometimes. If you look at his turnover worthy play percentage on passes 20 yards down the field, it's up there with Tua. It's very high, but maybe that's because he's throwing to Jawan Jennings deep. Maybe if he were throwing to Mike Evans deep, it'd be a whole different thing. I just wonder if Mike Evans still has that gear left in him, and if he can stay healthy for this team. That's really my only question.
Yeah. Well, through what we know, I mean, I think you're right. Right now on paper, it looks like he's going to get the ball a ton. I don't think he can stay healthy if he's a guy that has to be this guy who's like 85 catches and 100 plus targets. I think it would be much to his advantage if the Niners in this offseason go get other options at running back, tight end, wide receiver, and they show up with a much more diversified weaponry, and it's not just Purdy to Evans, Purdy to Evans, Purdy to Evans. I think if they have a lot of weapons, he could have a really good year, and it could be exactly what they want. If it's just Purdy to Evans and everybody else is a bit player, I think he gets hurt, and I don't think he can last the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at this and wanting to be optimistic, thinking, well, remember when the Niners got Anquan Bolden? He was 33. And if you remember his first game with the 49ers, he was instantly Colin Kaepernick's favorite target, 17 targets,
Green Bay,
13 catches, 208 yards, and a touchdown. It was like, oh, okay, this guy's perfect, because Kaepernick threw really, really hard, and some people couldn't even catch his passes. Bolden could, and it didn't matter that Bolden wasn't particularly fast, because people just bounced off him. I'd be interesting to see if
tough.
Mike Evans and Purdy have that kind of instant rapport. I'm not sure that they will, but it's possible.
I'll tell you what I'm looking for, Grant, too, is that Purdy has been known to yell at a receiver or two, and Evans has been known to yell at a quarterback or two. So I want to see what that whole thing looks like. I've seen Evans yell at Tom Brady, and I've seen Purdy yell at Ray McLeod, and both times both guys look pretty angry. So that's going to be something. There'll be a lot of mutual respect. Heck, let's be honest here. Evans chose Purdy over Baker Mayfield, and there are a lot of people that think that Baker Mayfield's pretty damn good. And then for Purdy, I mean, Evans is far and away the best receiver he's ever played with.
I think it was also partly like they were phasing him out in Tampa Bay. They have other wide receivers, younger wide receivers, who are probably going to get more targets than him, and he clearly wants to be the number 1 guy. and he will be that on the 49ers as long as he's healthy, unless Ricky Pearsall. I don't think it's going to be him. Look, we're going to talk about Mac Jones next, but before we do, want to shout out this week's sponsor, Mint Mobile. I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping my money. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up with crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and quote unquote free perks that actually cost more in the long run, and switched to Mint Mobile. I don't know how much you guys pay for mobile. It's probably, I don't know, hundreds of bucks a month. With Mint Mobile, it's like $200 a year. Stop overpaying for wireless just because that's how it's always been. Mint exists purely to fix that. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. That's really cheap. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Bring your own phone number, activate with eSIM in minutes, and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts, no hassle. Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5 GB plan required. That's the equivalent of $15 a month. A new customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Okay. Thank you, Mint Mobile. We have more news today. According to Diana Rossini, the 49ers asking price for Mac Jones is quote unquote astronomical. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing it means a first round pick. What do you think of that, Larry?
I've said this 3 or 4 weeks ago. I said, if I'm the Niners, I'm asking for the moon because Mac Jones is better than these other guys. But then it's interesting. The league spoke back, and I'm sure the Niners did ask for the moon. And when I say, what's the moon? They're asking for, a first round pick or, a second round pick and a player or, you know what I mean? Something like, good player. They want something real for Mac Jones because they know Mac Jones just saved their bacon and could do it again this year. And it's not like theoretical, it's real. I mean, what would we be saying about the Niners right now if they went 8-9, missed the playoffs? The dialogue would be harsh. The fan base would be at their throats. They know it. So they know Mac Jones is valuable to them. So they set the price tag really, really high on Mac Jones. And I would have too. But now, unbelievably, there's 6 or 7 teams around the league that are willing to play with lesser quarterbacks than Mac Jones instead of paying the 49ers price. So either the Niner price is going to have to come down or maybe they're just going to have Mac Jones as a backup quarterback this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give up a first or second round pick or even a third for Mac Jones when you can go out and sign guys who are roughly as good and not give up any draft picks. So I get that, but it just seems to me that the Niners are really holding on surprisingly tightly to Mac Jones, which to me, there's only one way to interpret that. I mean, they don't seem to be as 100% sold on Brock Purdy as they say they are. Otherwise, the backup quarterback wouldn't matter that much. And it's not that Brock Purdy isn't good, because he is really good. It's just that he's had injury issues 2 seasons in a row. He just has. And you can't ignore that. And if he has another season this year in 2026 where he misses 8 games, the 49ers might just want to, reconsider their options, considering how freaking expensive Brock Purdy is. If he's a part-time player, a half-season player, then maybe they want to get out of this contract and not give him $100 million in the next couple of years and pivot to Mac Jones, who's cheaper. We're not there yet, but it does seem like the Niners want to keep their options open and protect themselves.
It's funny. Narratives can go a lot of different ways based on the perceptions, right? There's reality and perception. The deal with Brock Purdy is he was hurt this year, but how many people are calling up KMBR or walking around going, man, Brock Purdy's always hurt? It was fine because they won games, and when he got healthy, they were ready to roll and he played great. So it's all good. But what if they had, I don't know, Brandon Allen, and instead of going 5-3 in those 8 games, he went 0-8 and they missed the playoffs. And now it's like Brock Purdy got hurt.
The Washington Commanders.
What's that?
Then you're the Washington Commanders,
right?
Who freaking tanked as soon as Jaden Daniels went down,
right? And then, but I mean,
last year 5-12.
Brock Purdy got hurt. Oh, he's hurt. Always hurt.
Mhm.
Instead, Mac Jones changes the perception. So, in a
Yep.
lot of ways, I mean, how are John and Kyle going to get ripped? They're going to get ripped if Brock Purdy is a disaster because they paid him $50 million. Well, they can kind of manage that because if they hadn't had Mac Jones, there'd be a lot of people complaining about Brock Purdy and his fragileness. But instead, Mac Jones is there, and there's none of that discussion at all. So I think he's really valuable to them on a lot of fronts. And not to mention, I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, I actually think he's good. I don't know if other people just think it's Shanahan. That whole talk, Barrows had that quote, Grant, from an NFC or NFL person who was like, yes, Kyle going to come with him. That's like a way of saying Mac sucks and Kyle was making him. But do you really think that's the case? I don't think that's the case. I think Mac Jones was accurate at Bama, and he's accurate now.
I think it's just we've seen Mac Jones in questionable situations struggle. So you have to really feel like you're putting him in the right situation with the right system and the right playmakers. And maybe those teams aren't out there right now. But I just think it's interesting that like we heard Mac come out a month ago and really confirm like, yeah, Kyle wanted me in the draft and it just didn't work out.
Right.
You got to remember that to me, the front office is more wedded to Brock than Kyle is, because Brock wasn't Kyle's. He didn't find him. Brian Greasy found him. Steve Slowick found him. And he showed up to fix Kyle's mistake, which was Trey Lance, which in retrospect may not have been his mistake because he wanted Mac Jones. So
right. I mean, think about we're actually painting the picture of what the reality in the room could be as opposed to the perception publicly.
Right. When Brock went down last year, the narrative was, oh, we're going to see how Brock's been covering up for Kyle's mistakes, and we're going to see how he's been keeping him employed. And Kyle wouldn't even be the coach anymore if it wasn't for Brock. And then Mac went on that run. So I just feel like if something happens with Brock, I think Kyle wants to be able to pivot to his guy. Hey, man, you guys didn't let me have Mac Jones initially. I love Brock Purdy, but now Brock Purdy's hurt or something happened, and I want my guy here. That's how I feel.
Wow. I mean, either way,
who likes Mac Jones more than Kyle?
I wouldn't give away Mac Jones. Do you feel, unless you felt like, hey, the Niners, it's no big deal that Darnold won the Super Bowl? Because I think Mac Jones, if you put him in a good situation, could do what Darnold did. He could do what Darnold did. If he had a killer defense and a great run game and an awesome return game, special teams, Seattle was a great team and Darnold was just kind of But you know what? They won it. And Mac Jones could be kind of with all the same things and win it. So envision that before you say, oh, we'll just take this and get rid of him. You may want to keep him because he's insurance in the present. And what if this is a violent game, man? These guys get hurt all the time. What if Brock Purdy gets hurt? Knock on wood that he doesn't. But what if he does? You've got another quarterback there, and you're rolling still.
Yep. K-Star says, Bolden was 32 years old when he came to the Niners, and he had 3 great years with them, just saying. That's true, man. He was incredible, and maybe he was one of the outliers. I just want to say, I don't think Bolden and Evans have that much in common. Bolden was like a rugged power forward slot receiver, and Mike Evans is more of like a sleek boundary back shoulder fade monster, red zone monster. And I just want to point, I would compare him more to prime Julio Jones. And when Julio was 33, he caught 24 passes. He was just at about the end. So I don't know. We'll see which way he goes.
He could be like Devontae with the Rams last year.
Yep. Devontae, I didn't think Devontae was particularly good last year. I thought he was hurt most of the year.
Pretty good.
But he had 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
14 touchdowns is 14 touchdowns.
That's a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. Chris O says, surely they need to trade for Jalen Carter. Quinnen Williams was a 2026 second and a 2027 first. Carter is not as good, so that's maybe a 49er first and fourth.
Well, that's one of the more interesting topics of the week. Would the Eagles take the Niners, or would the Niners offer, and would the Eagles take the Niners first and Renardo Green for Carter? I first assumed that it would be Bosa, because I heard the Crosby for Carter. So I just assumed, well, maybe they feel like they want Bosa. I don't know if you would you trade Bosa for Carter? I threw that out.
Yes, I would.
I threw that out and said that I probably would. And people were just like, oh my God, losing
I would
their
for sure
mind.
Do that.
It's like Bosa's older. He's had 3 ACLs. These guys
Yeah.
don't last forever. I would say he's got 3 more years left
Who
in him.
knows? Yeah. And you have
Jalen
no idea
Carter's
what he's going to be like
24.
when he comes back from this latest ACL. Mystery.
Plus, Jalen Carter is an all-pro defensive tackle who's kind of a badass. Now, he might be too much of a badass, but you know what? If this guy was Charles Haley, would you want him?
I mean,
Would you want him knowing that
not
Charles
to make
Haley's
light of what happened
a
in
little crazy?
college, but he hasn't gotten in trouble in the NFL. He didn't go to
Spit
jail.
on Prescott.
Okay, Bill Romanowski spit on JJ Stokes. I'm just saying, like,
People
so
spit.
he's not the nicest guy. All right, the Niners have by far the nicest team in the NFL. Maybe
Right.
their nicest would rub off on him. Maybe he'd become a lot nicer of a person hanging out with Kyle Juszczyk,
That's right.
hanging out with Christian. I'm just saying.
Jalen Carter becomes part of the Cabo
He
crew.
He might start listening to country and voting Republican. We just don't know. Mike, who cheese Harry says if the Niners make one last free agent signing, who is a must sign? That's going to be our topic for today. Hold tight, and we're going to dedicate that one to you. MGM Production says, with 20 million cap left, what is that people want to know? You got to wait. JDM says CMC said doing what it takes for the team even means less touches, and he's open to the Niners adding another running back. Isn't this a shot at the other running backs? CMC is known not to want to get off the field, so he comes off as contradicting. I think it's more of like not a shot at the coaches, but like, hey, everyone thinks I refuse to come off the field. Maybe they should like play someone else. Maybe it's not up to me.
I saw today B-Rob may come back. Do you see that?
We're going to talk about that too. I'm going to ask what you think. You guys are anticipating all of our great topics. The great Gagooch says, hey guys, love the show. Larry, hope you can forgive me. Love all your hard work and content. Hopefully you'll let me back in your supers. Greg Argisi. Greg, you fucked up.
Greg, you did say some things that were a little bit over the line, but you know what? I will review with counsel and Kev, and we
you gotta accept a good apology, man. Plus
we'll see what we can do.
So because he gave me $5, I'm definitely on his side. JC NY Niner says how it's going. I 100% see Debo Greenlaw coming back.
I do too.
Greenlaw be cool. Kevin Kretzmer says if we get Chris Bell in the second round, believe we could be in great spot with our wide receiver room in the future. Agree? Is that the dude who tore his ACL?
Yeah, but I think he's totally on the money here. This guy is a little bit of T.O., a little bit of Bolden, a little bit. He's a powerhouse, but he's got speed. He can run after the catch. He could, at least pre-injury. I like him a lot. Yeah, Chris Bell.
I think he's a good scheme fit for the Niners training room.
Yeah, but he would be if you added Chris Bell and Mike Evans and the young guys they have coming back, they could probably call wide receiver covered.
The great Gagooch says, do you guys think we can still get Romeo Doubs? Man,
no,
stop spending money on wide receivers. The offensive line is more important. Please.
He's a Patriot, by the way.
Doubs. Oh, yeah, there's that. Good point. David Montez says 7 picks in the first 4 rounds should set them up. They have more than 7 picks, right? Because they got 3 comp picks.
No, they have a first, a second, a third, and 4 picks in the fourth. That's it.
7. That is 7. Okay.
But yeah, I definitely
my day will be done early on day 4, day 3. I'm kind of happy.
I would trade back because there's a lot of great players in this draft.
They should not pick in round 1. They should either trade that for a player or trade out of round 1.
I agree. That'd be good. Give me. I would give that number 1, by the way, for
Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
hell yeah, that would be a great move. All right, let me ask you. Well, before we get to moves the Niners should make, this more news today. Adam Schefter came out and said that the Niners are having productive talks with Trent Williams and have no plans to trade him. That doesn't mean he'll get the extension he wants. I guess there's still a possibility that they could force him to play out the final year of his contract and live with it if he holds out. What do you see happening here?
I think Trent knows he's got a good deal. I think Shanahan manages Trent's body well, lets him do whatever he wants. I think Trent understands that. I think Trent's happy here. He thinks he's got a good chance to win here. I think he's going to take a little bit of a haircut, and there's going to be a little bit of a compromise. To me, it sounds like a compromise. Otherwise, I would, if he really wants the full bag, I would trade him for a tackle and a pick. And I wouldn't be super picky about what round, mid rounds, fourth round, fifth round. I'd be fine. I know that sounds crazy because he's such a great player, but you can't. You're gonna go another $100 million dead cap situation in 2028 or something because you keep extending a 38-year-old offensive lineman instead of replacing him. I think they've leaned so heavily on him. I would like to see them attempt to replace him.
It seems like he wanted to get a resolution to this right now to get the most money possible, either from the 49ers or from another team in free agency. And I'm guessing the Niners thought process here is to just slow him down and wait out the market. If they say, look, we're still working with you, we're still negotiating, but we can't get this done on March 10th. It's going to happen in March 31st or April 31st. The longer they wait, the more that his theoretical market dries up and maybe they have less competition. Like if he's saying, well, the Chiefs will give me what I want, maybe if they wait a month, the Chiefs will have other plans, make other arrangement at left tackle, and he'll say, well, my best option is to just take what the Niners are offering. I think that might be what they're strategizing. I don't know if it'll work. Could work.
What I'm thinking, Grant, is that, teams get very like, who's the best player we can get at this position on draft day, right? And then, so the first half of the first round goes and all the tackles go. And now it's like, there are no more tackles, but there's still going to be 6 or 7 teams that want to take a tackle. And that's where I think the 49ers might be able to say, hey, look, give us your second round pick and we'll give you our fourth round pick and Trent Williams here, where they move up from the fourth round to the second round with Trent Williams and get offensive lineman X that is going to step in. And
doesn't the fact that they signed Mike Evans make you feel like they're going to find a way to hold on to Trent Williams? I mean,
yeah,
they talk about rebuilding, but they're not. They have the oldest offense in the league and they're committing to that timeline. They don't have 2 timelines here.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like everything's about the next couple of years, which then makes you wonder, will they take any offensive lineman in the draft? Because offensive linemen usually take a couple of years to develop.
Is it fair to say, though, that like from Kyle and John's perspective, like while they're not on the hot seat yet, they're not going to stay here indefinitely, and at a certain point they have to have a Super Bowl victory to keep this going, and that could be year 11 or year 12, and maybe don't fully rebuild in year 11 when you could get fired if you miss the playoffs. It's like, all right, we'll try to rebuild parts here and there, but essentially we got to hold on to Trent and all these older players, because if we don't have a ring in a year or 2 or 3, we're all probably going to be gone anyway.
Yeah, we don't know their bottom line. Jed
Right.
may have said, get me a ring by 2027.
Yeah,
2028.
Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know.
You're not going to be here forever.
Nobody gets forever.
No.
Heck, I mean, Mike Tomlin won one, and he, John Harbaugh won. They're not there anymore. Mike Shanahan won multiples, and eventually Denver said, off to Washington you go.
Yeah.
So, it's nobody gets forever. They're not going to get forever. Maybe they feel like they're thinking a little bit more short term because their own window of get it done or that's it. But there's no indication of that. And it's interesting. It's like, are they on one timeline or 2 timelines? Like, are they on a regime timeline, or is like Lynch like on an extreme timeline and Shanahan's got a more relaxed timeline? I don't know, because Shanahan seems to have more equity within within the league as a head coach than maybe John does as a general manager. And that's
true, but it's complicated too, right? Because what does John do on the 49ers? Doesn't it seem like the Niners kind of don't have a general manager, and that Kyle Shanahan is putting the roster together, and that John Lynch is sort of speaking for him, and that Kyle Shanahan's a hell of a coach, like maybe a top 5 coach in the league. But when you look at the 49ers blunders throughout the years with their roster construction, is that John, or is that, I guess we'll never know. But my suspicion is that it's Kyle. And that maybe the team would be better off if they actually empower John Lynch to do his job instead of letting Kyle Shanahan overrule him.
I guarantee you, if we had the backstory on every single draft, they've now gone through 9 drafts. I guarantee you there's been some give and take. I guarantee you, Kyle said to John, "Hey, John, what do you think?" And he said, "Hey, Solomon Thomas, I had the class with him. He was amazing."
Mm-hmm.
Or Kyle, what do you think? I mean, all these trade ups for Jalen Hurd, CJ Beathard, Joe Williams, Dante Pettis, I got to believe those are all on Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that John Lynch overruled Kyle Shanahan, traded up for offensive players that Kyle did not want. It's just not plausible. So Kyle's had the bottom line on this, or has had the final say, but these are huge jobs now. And then you hear John talk about their process and how all the cast of Gandhi they have addressing the process. They got so many people, analytics crowds and coaches and doctors and when we build consensus, we do the best. Okay, but that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do.
They just remind me so much of the Warriors, in the sense that they're unwilling to sort of like rip off the Band-Aid and rebuild, tear it down and rebuild. They're just really holding on to an older core of players. And you look at it, you step back and you're like, well, I guess if the oldest team in the league stays healthy all year, yeah, they could win it all. But they're the oldest team in the league, and I just don't believe the Niners bringing in Mike Evans is kind of like the Warriors bringing in Al Horford. It's like, yeah, he was great. Love Al Horford. Hell of a player. But what are we expecting at this point?
To what end?
Yeah. What are we doing? And even if he does stay healthy, like, are you guys good enough? Yeah. Even if you get the best version of Al Horford, like, what are you doing? Conference championship, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Both, I think it's a good comparison because I think both the Warrior brass, mostly Joe, and the 49er brass, John and Kyle, they have fallen in love with their players. Kansas City waved goodbye to Trent McDuffie. Kansas City got rid of Tyreek Hill. Green Bay said goodbye.
That's
to
how
Devontae
Walsh used
Adams.
to do it. Like Kansas City does it.
The Niners are very warm. They're not just
sentimental.
They're still, there's rumors of them bringing their former guys back. They don't seem, does it seem to you like CMC, Juice, Kittle, Trent, Warner, Bosa, any of their best players who are all past their prime, are any of them going to be like traded or shown the door or no? It's just, they're just going to kind of,
they're just going to stay here forever, and we'll have a farewell season for each of them. JCNY Niners says Evans is a good signing. You can't roll out D-Rob, Watkins, and Cowing and a new rookie out there as starters. Have to try and compete and can't just punt the year. Sure, but couldn't you get someone in their 20s, someone with a little speed? I would have gone after Rashid Shaheed, and people say, well, he's not a number one wide receiver. Is Evans anymore? I'm just saying. Or if you wanted a number one legit one, you could have traded for A.J. Brown. He's supposed to be on the market. You got a first-round pick that you're going to mess up. Trade that.
I mean,
maybe
like this. So how should you fill the rest of your needs? At tight end, should they go get Zach Ertz? And at running back, should they find, some older running back and who used to be able to do it? And
I mean, when Adam Peters adds another old player to that old-ass Commanders team, we all laugh. Every time he does it, it's like, here he goes, Adam Peters. Guess where they got him? The Niners. He's just doing a John Lynch impression or a Kyle Shanahan impression, whoever is running the Niners. I think meanwhile, the Chiefs have like the fourth youngest team in the league. They're not messing around. The Seahawks have one of the youngest teams in the league. Yeah. This is what happened to John Gruden at the end with the Bucs. He had old-ass Mike Allstott and a bunch of old players. You got to move on. It's because Kyle has this very specific offense where like every play is a paragraph. Kids coming out of college have never played football like that before. They look at a screen, they see Cartman, 3 cartoons, and an ice cream cone, and they're like, okay, well, that's Chip's right. It just seems like it's hard to teach this to young kids. And so you're stuck with guys who went to Stanford and Harvard 10, 15 years ago.
You got to coach them. You got to coach them. Just, do you want to coach, or is it just about, calling plays and sequencing plays and, figuring out what's the best play to run? Eventually you got to coach these guys up, especially if you have a young team. If they got they're going to lean young. Maybe, Mike Shanahan did not develop a lot of quarterbacks. There are some coaches that really like to develop young quarterbacks.
Wow. Shots fired at Brian Greasy.
Yeah. I mean, do the Niners want to develop young quarterbacks? It doesn't, I thought it was likely they'd go for Kirk Cousins, though I did see Pittsburgh may go after Cousins if they move Mac.
Oh, they
But
love
now
old
it doesn't seem like
quarterbacks
they're
over
going to
there.
be able to move Mac.
Thomas says, "Do you still think Niners go wide receiver at 27?" I don't.
No, they definitely don't.
More
Definitely.
likely O-line, D-line, or really anything on defense.
I would say defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker. Yeah.
The W888 says Niners need to trade Kyle for a pick and sign Mike Tomlin and Kurt Warner and Jim Schwartz. Then fire John Lynch, bring Eddie D back as president of operations, sign assistant GM from the Seahawks to be the GM. That was very creative. I like
Very
that.
creative.
Do you think Mike Tomlin still wants to coach to coming back?
I'm sure he wants a coach, but he's going to take a full year off and regroup. I mean, this thing's a grind, man. It's an absolute grind.
It is. Siegfried says, why Eagles sign Woolen when they need safeties? Eagles sign Woolen?
I didn't see that. Did that just happen?
Let's see. Reek Woolen. Ooh, 27 minutes ago. Reached agreement today on a 1-year deal worth up to $15 million with the Eagles.
Wow.
Ooh, man. These contenders in the NFC are making some serious moves.
Well, there was a lot of talk. The 49ers had interest there. And wow. Teddy Bridgewater to the Lions. I just saw that too.
Teddy Bridgewater is still in the NFL. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, Eagles had Reek Woolen. So, I mean, the Eagles, you know.
Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Reek Woolen.
Yeah, I mean, see, I guess Philly went after Alontae Taylor, and they lost out to Tennessee. So that's why they went with Reek Woolen.
It seems to me that the best teams in the NFC have incredible defenses, and the Niners don't.
And the Saints signed Caden Ellis. There was that talk that the Niners the Caden Ellis may join Raheem Morris. He goes to New Orleans instead. Packers
I guess they'll
more.
Get their safety replaced Reed Blankenship in the draft. Cole Hartke says, "Oh, what do you think of Emmanuel McNeil Warren at 27? Reminds me of Nick Emanwari with better ball skills. Seems like he's exactly what our defense needs."
Yeah, I really like him. Are you talking about the guy from Toledo? Big,
yes.
Tall, rangy safety from Toledo. Yeah, he's really rangy and fast, and he's very, very good hitter, and yet he's got range and can cover. So, yeah, no, I really like him. And then in the testing, he looked really, really good. So Toledo's had, they had Womack. They had, obviously, Quinyon Mitchell. They've produced some pretty good defensive backs, and this guy looks really good.
You can't go into this season with Jair Brown and Marquise Siegel as your free safeties. You can't.
No, I think they got to upgrade. That's what I'm saying. They got to upgrade free safety. They got to upgrade corner. They definitely need a couple linebackers. They need a pass rushing interior player. They need another outside end. When are they going to start building up this defense? Would be my question.
Savage says CMC, Debo, Kittle, Mike Evans, and Trent would have been great 5 years ago. Yeah. Joseph Ernberg says this team is the definition of soft. What's up, LK?
What's up?
LK? Baby Radiant says the Raiders are more serious than the Niners this year. I like the Linderbaum signing a lot. I like Kwity Paye. I like, Nolan Smith, Quay Walker. I like some of their moves. They had to make moves. They had to spend something.
I mean, come on. The Raiders have some pieces there. Where's Mac Jones going to wind up? Is he would the Raiders trade for Mac Jones and let Mendoza?
He's going to be the Niners' long-term quarterback. He's taking Brock Purdy's job. He went to Cabo. He's already working. He's got George Kittle in his back pocket. You better watch out, Brock. Mac's coming for you.
Mac can dance. Mac can dance.
Yeah. Do you guys think Kyle views Evans as the missing piece, meaning not going to develop any young talent anytime soon? What is the new draft strategy?
I think this draft strategy better be build up the line of scrimmage on both sides.
Please.
And probably get themselves another runner. I think they're probably going to go for another running back. And
speaking of which, Larry,
yes,
should the Niners bring back Brian Robinson Jr.? There's been reports that they're interested in bringing him back, which is so strange to me because they didn't really use him last year. But they traded for him and they want to bring him back. What do you think?
It's a very bizarre situation because, I mean, they traded for him, which makes you think, man, they really like him. But then they never used him, and they were including one playoff game, he didn't get a touch. And he didn't touch the ball in Philly, right? Was that the game that he didn't touch the ball?
I don't
Or
believe
was
he
it
did.
Seattle? One of those 2 games, he did not touch the ball. And so you're sitting there going, well, wait a second, does Kyle not trust anybody but CMC? I mean, he runs their line didn't
No
open.
touches in Philly.
Yeah, not a single touch in Philly.
7 snaps on offense.
Your big back in freezing weather didn't get a single carry. That was weird. So I when I saw that, I just kind of put a line through him like, oh, there's no way he's coming back. But yeah, it sounds like he's willing to come back, and it sounds like they want to have him back. I mean, are they going to utilize him? I definitely think there's some underrated backs in this draft. I know it's not considered a great running back draft, and they have other needs, but there's some really solid running backs in this draft. I just do think that you can get them in any round, and Shanahan's got usually a pretty good eye for it. So I don't know if they draft a back. Maybe they just sign a couple after the draft. But Robinson, I think, is probably coming back.
It's too bad. I would have liked them to bring in someone that could split carries with Christian McCaffrey. I don't think that Brian Robinson Jr. I wasn't that impressed with him. I thought that Jordan Mason was better, at least on the Niners. Jordan Mason on the Niners was better than Brian Robinson. Ran harder, more effective. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to see. It would have been nice for them to sign Tyler Algier. They didn't. It would have been nice for them to actually play Garendo or Jordan James last year, so we know what they have. But I think we know what they have in Brian Robinson Jr., and it's like no one's scared of him. Sorry.
I mean, I wish they had found out. Like right now, it would be nice if we knew what the capabilities of Jordan James really were. It's like we don't really know. They gave him he got some carries in July, and then he got some carries in January, and nothing in between. But he's got a great build for running back, right? He's squatty. He's like 225 pounds. He really does look like a running back, and he caught the ball in training camp very naturally, like a guy who's been doing it for years. And he looked okay in the last game of the year, though he looked bad, I thought, on the return that Rashid took back for a score. He would really not a very strong effort there by Jordan James on the coverage unit. But other than that, he looked good in that game. So but what is he? Do we know what he is? Can you lean on him? I don't know if they can.
I'd like to see them bring in someone a little bit more serious. It seems like when they brought in Brian Robinson Jr., it was like, we need a guy just in case Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. Now I feel like you need a guy to split the load, to split carries with Christian McCaffrey. I feel like he even gave the green light for it. And you could do better. You could do better. Yeah.
He did. He was like, hey, if they want to go get somebody and bring somebody in here, I'm fine with that. Because I mean, the word was like Christian wants every carry, and I think he is kind of like that. He wants every carry, but I mean, he's got to know that if they could somehow bring in another starting caliber back, whether it be in the draft or free agency, it would have lengthened his career.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got some breaking Niners news, but before we get to that, I want to shout out another sponsor this week, AG1, which is keeping me healthy. Come out of your winter slump and reset the season ahead. Prioritizing your health doesn't have to be complicated and can make a meaningful difference in how you feel. AG1 is a daily health drink clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrient gaps. With 75 plus ingredients, including 5 clinically studied probiotic strains, AG1 replaces the need for a multivitamin, probiotics, and more. It's challenging to stay consistent as schedules shift in the spring. Take advantage of more daylight and kickstart your mornings with one simple scoop. Most supplements overcomplicate things with tons of pills and confusing timing, an impossible schedule to maintain long-term. Those little boxes with the little letters for the different days. I hate those boxes. I don't do those boxes anymore because I got AG1. Simplifies your nutrition, multivitamin, pre and probiotic, superfoods, and antioxidants all in one scoop. Go to drinkag1.com/cone to get AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of vitamin D3 K2 for free in your AG1 welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. Only while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/cone to get healthy. All right, Larry, here's the news. Big news. The 49ers just signed a linebacker to a 1-year deal. And his name is Garrett Wallow. Yeah, Garrett Wallow's back. Da-na-na-na. He's not Dre Greenlaw, but he's younger than Dre Greenlaw. He played well last year. This might end. Maybe they're not going to sign Dre Greenlaw. I guess we'll have to see. But they freaking got Garrett Wallow in your face, Seattle. What do you think?
Well, you got to have a special teams linebacker, and they had an all-pro special teams linebacker that they're probably going to let walk away, right? Luke Gifford, I would imagine. This is probably instead of Luke Gifford. So he's your special teams linebacker. They're saying another area they're saving probably a few bucks, right? Gifford's probably going to make more. He's probably worth more. And so they'll go with Wallow. You know, you got to I mean, it's bad news if you're Gifford, if you wanted to come back. It's probably bad news if you're Curtis Robinson and you wanted to come back.
No. Curtis Robinson was just in Cabo. He's fine.
Oh, there you go.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
I didn't realize he had the right travel agent. So there you go. So he's still there. No, but they need one special teams linebacker, and Wallow probably is it. Now, the question is, there was also some rumblings that Kendricks was going to come back. To me, that if they have Wallow and Kendricks, that won't necessarily be a good thing. I think they got to. Where's their next great linebackers? You know, they had Aziz and Warner and Greenlaw. They were all young. Now they don't have one young linebacker as good as any of those three guys. So it's really important to me that they get at least two linebackers in the, out of the drafts, whether it be guys in the, day 1, day 2, day 3, or even after the draft. They got to come away with two stacked linebackers.
What shocks me so much about this move is Garrett Wallow's age. I mean, he's 27 years old. I just didn't understand. I wasn't aware that the Niners were interested in players that young. I thought unless you're 32, 33, they're really not on the Niners radar. So shout out to Garrett Wallow for proving once again that age is nothing but a number. 27.
27.
The new 32 on the 49ers.
He's here, Garrett Wallow. I'll say this for Wallow. He did play his butt off against the Eagles in Philly.
Really
in the playoffs. He played amazing. The communication was amazing. On every single snap, Wallow, Kendricks, they're moving the young defensive tackles in and out of gaps. They were on point in that game from start to finish. He played amazingly, and maybe that's why he's back.
I have a question for you before we move on. Do you think it's too soon to call Nick Martin a bust?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is.
Is he going to play this year?
But I mean, it's not just that he had this, this like he never played and it was like
red shirt of all red shirts.
Yeah, it was kind of mysterious. But it was also kind of like how nobody seemed like to want to talk about him.
Yep.
Like
how's he doing? Fine.
Yeah, it was like it's like there was a backstory there. It's like, that guy, the guy that lit the weight room on fire. We
don't talk about that guy.
We don't talk about that guy. I mean, it was like there was something there, and he walked around the room, and I don't want to say that he didn't fit in, but he just seemed like.
He didn't talk to anyone or have any. Yes.
He was like it was weird. It was like he was an island.
Like he was not on the team.
Like he wasn't on the team.
Agreed.
It was weird. Agreed. Now, I don't. Then the other weird thing was he played 14 snaps, and in those 14 snaps, he made 7 tackles. And then that
got hurt, and he never played again. See, I think it's too soon to write him off. I don't understand what's going on with him. It feels like there's more to the story we don't understand. I'm with you on that. There's
something there. There's something going on. Either this guy, they didn't like the slippers.
The slippers! I forgot.
I don't know if it was the slippers. He told somebody to go F themselves. He doesn't believe what everybody else believes. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what's going on there. But that guy,
maybe he was one of the first guys on the substation theory, and the Niners don't like that.
That guy walked through the locker room kind of like he was persona non grata.
Because he was.
I mean, it was like he wasn't like he was sitting at his locker chopping it up with 2 or 3 guys. And no. It was like
Siegfried says Grant was on AG1 when he fell off the treadmill. That is erroneous. That is simply not true. They saw me fall, and that's why they hooked it up. All right. This is the question of the day.
something
Thank you for
happened there.
waiting an hour for us to address it. So the Niners have done 3 things. They have signed Mike Evans to a reasonable deal. That's basically a 1-year deal, $16 million with incentives and options beyond that. They also signed Garrett Wallow and Vidarian Lowe, an offensive lineman that only Larry's ever heard of. What is give him a move. What is the next big move the Niners should make, or medium-sized move, any move other than Garrett Wallow?
They should sign Trey Hendrickson. I mean, if you want to,
let's talk about.
You want to shake the tree. You want to wake up the fan base. You want to announce to the world that the 49ers are substation this, MFers. You know, we're here and we're in the battle. I mean, you want to juice up the fan base, get a bunch of people going to 49er.com, make you and I's videos 3 times as more popular as they already are. Trey freaking Hendrickson.
And what kills me about Trey Hendrickson, you'll bring that up and people be like, no, we're trying to get younger. What the fuck? You just
signed Mike Evans.
You just signed Mike Evans. He's older than Trey Hendrickson. If you're in the Mike Evans business market, you are absolutely in the Trey Hendrickson market. And we're going to talk about this next, but the way I look at it is, even if Mike Evans works out perfectly and plays 17 games, you are not the team to beat in the NFC right now, not even in your division. So keep going. Bring in another dude who's 31, preferably one. Well, and he got hurt last year. Even better. Bring him in.
I mean, here's the other thing about this. I mean, is there any chance that Trent Williams? I know they're saying, "Oh, Trent's not going anywhere," this and that, but would the Niners trade Trent and use that money to go get Hendrickson? Because I mean, you got to remember this. It's more about the money. I think they love the player, and they also love the motor on the player. You know, so that they know he's going to play with his hair on fire. And so I think that is why, if John Lynch has spent money on, or made trades and brought in guys like, Chase Young, and he dogged it, and that looked bad. I don't think John wants, and Devondre Campbell, who literally went AWOL on the team, and they signed him. So I just don't think he wants to sign this guy. Vidarian Lowe is considered very high character. Mike Evans, very high character. They're not messing around with anybody that they don't know their work ethic. They don't know if they play hard. I think they're only going to go for guys who they absolutely like, guys who have legendary, this guy plays unbelievably hard and it's legendary. Everybody knows it. I don't think they're going to play that game.
We
they're not
both
spending
like
that
the
money.
idea of you going after Trey Hendrickson, but I don't think they're going to get Trey Hendrickson because that would be really expensive. And they kind of even got Mike Evans on a discount. I think they're going to go discount shopping once again. And I think the player they're going to get who plays Trey Hendrickson's position, the discount Trey Hendrickson is going to be
Bosa or Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa. No one really wants him, but he's brothers with Nick.
Yeah, that's probably the call. That's probably the call. Joey Bosa is probably the call because he's cheaper. And he'll be a lot cheaper than Trey Hendrickson. And obviously,
he played 15 games last year. He
played well. He played well.
He would have led the Niners in sacks last year.
Yeah, and not only that, he plays the run well.
Yeah,
Joey Bosa is good against the run. I mean, I think he has been good against the run throughout his career too. So
I don't know if he fits the Niners 3-4 defense or if they're going to run a 3-4 defense, but he fits their nickel defense. A couple of Bosas on the outside.
I thought you were going to say was Leonard Floyd, because Leonard Floyd seems like goes everywhere that Raheem Morris goes.
I forgot about that. They're right. Rams and Falcons.
Yeah. So it's like he's like Raheem Morris always brings in Leonard Floyd at some point.
I feel like he had 10 sacks for the Niners and I never noticed him on the field. He made no impact with his 10 sacks.
Yeah. Well, because the thing about it is he didn't often win, but what he did was he was
chase
genius.
him down.
Well, I mean, it's like he kind of showed it's like, you don't have to play hard if you can play smart. And that's what he did. I don't think he really played hard, but like what he would do is he just come out of his stance and then like engage the tackle and then just kind of bounce outside and read where the quarterback was going. And you just kind of hang out for a couple seconds. And then when the quarterback stepped up in the pocket because somebody else pressured him, then Floyd would come firing over and sack him.
Certainly.
That's how he played.
Nate
It's effective.
says, we got you. Hold on. David says, add Trey Hendrickson and Greenlaw and go monster old. Embrace it. They got to address the trenches at some point in free agency, right?
Well, you need a left guard. Is Verdarian Lowe going to play start? He's going to be the starter at left guard.
Maybe they'll take. Maybe he's been a tackle. Maybe they'll try to do what they did with Spencer.
Did you do a video recently on the big Tennessee guard, old school guy, or was it somebody else? Somebody who's advocating the Niners go sign the guard from Tennessee.
Corey Wiggs says, I love you, man, but you keep saying the Niners are the oldest team, and they aren't. Google it right now. Don't cap. I saw someone say that they were heading into free agency this year, that they were the number one oldest team. I retweeted it. If it was on Twitter, it must be true.
Yeah. There are well, let's just say this. I think it's a little misrepresented because like the kid, like the punter is 40 and the long snapper is 40. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that drags everything up there. They're not really that old of a team across the board. There's a lot of youth.
Their offenses.
But they're, Kittle, Juice, Trent, and your special teams are all old.
Big time. Corey, appreciate you. We got one more question for Larry. Okay. Where do the 49ers stand in the NFC West after the first 2 days of free agency in your eyes? Assuming, let's say Mike Evans plays 14 games next year or more. Where do the Niners stand?
They're still exactly where they were. They haven't moved past bump.
That's hard to see it.
Whether
he's
Arizona,
good or whether he's not, they're the third best team in the NFC West.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, come on. Because the Rams added since the Rams were better. The Rams last time the Rams played the Niners, they beat them 42-24. And now they have two different corners, right? They get better corners. So they got Jalen Watson and they got Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie might be the best slot corner in football. So the Rams were better than you and added the best slot corner in football in his prime. Seattle did lose a lot. Seattle has lost a lot. If you look, I mean, Baltimore's lost a lot, but like Seattle lost Boye Mafe, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant. They've lost Kenneth Walker. I mean, they've lost a lot, but they still are better and than the Niners right now. So there you go. I mean, and then Arizona's done a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I still think
they couldn't even get Jimmy G.
Yeah, Arizona doesn't have quarterback. I mean, maybe Arizona's the team that's going to come knocking for Mac Jones. I think at some point, I mean, if they're really thinking about Jimmy G and Carson Wentz and stuff like that, I mean,
I got Gardner Minshew. They're fine.
Oh yeah, Minshew.
Yeah, Minshew.
The Minshew madness.
The Minshew madness.
The mustache.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm perplexed a little bit about with the Niners when they talk about, man, like we gotta keep Trent, or man, what a great value we got with Mike Evans. Okay, all right. So you're going to be like a more entertaining third place team. What are you really trying to accomplish? It either seems like you're the best or you're rebuilding, and the Niners don't want to rebuild. So they're like the Warriors. They just want to keep themselves right there in the mix. And I don't really care if you win 12 games in one playoff game. I don't, doesn't do anything for me. But I don't know. I guess they're positioning themselves to do that.
Well, I agree. I mean, think about it. On offense, their offensive line needs help at least in 2 spots, but probably more like 3 because Trent's 38 and may or may not come back. So they've got at least 2 spots in their O-line. The running back is just coming off of a major, major usage. The tight end is probably out for the year. All the receivers are gone except for the guys who didn't play. And now you added an older receiver who's a good receiver, but you've added one older receiver. I mean, come on. And not to mention you have 2 needs on your defensive line. You need 2 linebackers and
don't forget Verdarian Lowe, Larry.
Yeah.
I'm
How
sorry.
low can you go?
It
Verdarian
just
low.
seems like they're so content to sort of tread water and say, like, we're really good. We're a really good team. Yeah, but you're not good enough. So what are you going to do about it? We're going to replace Juwan James and Mike Evans and call it a day. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, I
Good luck.
mean, I would imagine the draft is going to have to be a lot on defense.
Well, they're very good at drafting. So we got to wait and see what they do.
But they also got it. They really need the big move. Like right now, it's like, they said they were going to be targeted in free agency. Okay, so you targeted. My guess is that Monteric Brown will probably be their next signing. Did he sign today? I don't know.
I think he did sign today. I think
Did
he
he sign?
signed back with the Jaguars.
Oh, okay, so it won't be him.
Yep.
But I mean, they need help on defense badly, and to me, the Trey Hendrickson move would make everybody go, okay. But if then it's like, okay, you've added a significant piece. If you want to really sit there and say, we're there with the Rams and Seahawks, you have to fire a big shot, and to me, it's a Trey Hendrickson type shot. Otherwise,
yeah, but don't you get the feeling that Mike Evans is going to be their big addition?
Like, I could see them trading for Greenard or something like that instead of going for. I definitely think I could see them going for, wanting an edge rusher, but not being willing to pay the price on Crosby, not being willing to pay the free agent price, and then going a trade route for Greenard. I could see that.
All right. Corey Wiggs says Rams offense is oldest. Stafford, Devontae, Higbee, and every O-lineman is over 30. Google. You're wrong, Corey. You're wrong. Their left tackle, Alaric Jackson, is 28. Their left guard, Steve Avila, is like
young. He was a draft pick 3 years ago,
dude.
The center's young too.
The right tackle is young. I'm sorry. You got some bad information, and you're holding
all
the
those
show
tight
up.
ends.
I don't know what to tell you.
Those tight ends, that Ferguson and Davis Allen and
Puka's young. Kyron Williams is young.
They're young.
What are you talking about? James NTU says SF gets Warner, Bosa, Michael back. Evans better than anything we had at wide receiver, and Kyle is a top 5 head coach in the league. As SF is SF is a Super Bowl contender. Too much doom and gloom from this fan base. Just stay healthy. Okay, Evans is better than anything that Evans had 30 catches for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. Okay, and we're all banking that he's going to bounce back at 33 and do the stuff that he did at 29, 30, and 31. He might or he might not. He's replacing a guy who caught 9 touchdown passes last year. So Evans has to at least give you 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. Has to. That's what he's here to replace. And he might. We'll see.
I think he's going to give you a different, a very similar numbers to JJ, but it's just going to look different.
Also, I love the last sentence. It's the richest thing ever. Just stay healthy. Yeah. That's great advice to the 49ers. Hey guys, just stay healthy. Oh, fuck me. What were we doing the last 10 years? Yeah. We were not staying. We were like, let's just fuck it. Let's just do whatever. And this year we're going to try to stay healthy.
What are we even talking about? So if the Niners, let's just carry this out. The Niners didn't. Who are their big injuries? McKell, Warner, Bosa,
Kittle.
Okay, Kittle. Let's say they had all those guys for Seattle. Are they beating Seattle? No, they're not. So why are we deluding ourselves into that? It's not just stay healthy. I hate to say it, but our buddy Lombardi tweeted that the other day. If the best thing that could happen for the Niners this offseason is for them to regain full health. And I said, I hate to say it, but I said, if the best thing is that they regain full health, they're cooked. Their goose is cooked. And that's not extreme Larry Krueger negativity. I'm sorry. That's reality. They have, who's their linebacking core? Who's their wide receiver core? Their offensive line, who are their great young offensive linemen? Who's their great young defensive line? Who's their number one corner? Who's their all-pro safety? They don't have any of these pieces. So it's like they need a ton. They're not just, it's not, I mean, that is delusional to be like, hey, if we just get healthy, it's all about us. It's not, no, it isn't. It's about you have to go find. Steve Young said it. He's like the only guy who can be like intellectually honest and has enough clout. He came out and said it when the Niners got eliminated. He said they need 7 or 8 key contributors out of the draft that are going to become the best players on their team. That's what he said. He's right.
Nick H says, can't wait to see which. Silent says, front office is high on hopium, hoping last 2 drafts pan out. And then Nick H says, can't wait to see which medical red flag they draft. Yeah. And they've been doing that since before John and Kyle are here. It's like, it's a tradition. And it's because they have such a good training staff and because that substation is definitely not an issue. That's why they like taking these risks. It works.
Chris Bell will be that guy.
Do it. All right, guys. That's the show. Thanks for all the super chats. Larry, thank you so much for your time. Yep. We had stuff to talk about today. Let's see. Even though they didn't do anything. Come on, guys. Do something. We're waiting.
Verdarian